and Mahomes at bay.
The Tampa Bay Bucs, Super Bowl 55.
Hello and welcome back to the Bucs Banter Podcast. I am your host, Collin Hallboom, and I am happy to be here with my co-host, Scott Capron and Bodan Yard. Welcome to what is our Kenyatta Walkerth episode, the 67th edition of the Bucs Banter Podcast. And in case anyone forgets, Kenyatta the Pinata, was a first-round pick of the Buccaneers in 2001, 14th overall out of the University of Florida. He was drafted to be a left tackle, but switched over to the right side, helped the Buccaneers win a Super Bowl on that right side. Solid career, but probably not to the extent that any team who uses a top 15 pick on a player would hope for. Anyway, before we get going, I just want to remind everyone to please subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Please rate and review the podcast if you're listening to the show on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. We appreciate it. And while I'm at it, please make sure to check out BucsGameDay.com, Sports Illustrated's only website dedicated specifically to covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What is good, boys?
Hey man, it's been a while since these Bucs have played. Actually, looking forward to a Sunday here to watch them after a good result from the Germany game. So, yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah,
it was a nice bye, but let's finish it out strong, like the Bucs are supposed to, right?
Yeah, I mean, you guys know my confidence, right? I don't have a game to like waver my confidence, so it's probably starting to teeter upwards, coming off.
Oh my God.
Coming off back-to-back wins for the first time since week 2.
There you go.
And week 1. So anyway, that is a positive, though. Let's be real. It is, man. And the league's open, dude. I'm telling you, like this NFC especially, but the whole league. And we've talked about that a little bit in previous episodes. But, man, if you get hot at the right time this year, it could happen for a lot of different teams. I truly believe that. I mean, there's been a lot of shitty football going on, at least compared to what we thought. And I think that plays in the Buccaneers' favor, obviously, because they haven't been playing well at all over the course of the season.
Totally agree, dude. And it's funny just with the way it shakes out, right? Because, you know, a lot of people before the season understandably would have had the Packers as a playoff team or playoff team at least, potential division winner. Same thing for the Rams in their division in the West, so the North and the West. And even though Tampa lost to Green Bay, and they lost to the Rams, right? Am I remembering that right?
Yeah, they did without Evans or Godwin.
Yeah, and lost to the Rams, but because of their division composition, they've been able to just keep their head above water, or actually directly at water level at 500. But they're in such a better position, right? And it's just you got to take advantage of the breaks when you get them, especially in this league because it's so hard. And like we talked about the parity this year, and like Collin, you just said, the shitty football, it's catching up to everyone. You just got to be playing well enough at the right times. And as frustrating as this team has been, and oh my God, have they ever been, there's still a green light on this season. Like they can do something here. That's for sure. And I actually like the Eagles and the Niners a ton in the NFC. I really do. Maybe not as much as I like the Chiefs and the Bills in the AFC, but you know, it's there. Win this division, host a playoff game, and then we'll see how it shakes off from there, right? So anyway.
And with those, you know, there's parallels to be drawn between a few disappointing NFC teams. And I think those are all led by veteran, high quality career quarterbacks in Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, Matt Stafford and the Rams, and then of course, Tom Brady and the Bucs. And out of those 3 teams, I'm most optimistic with Tampa Bay's outlook.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's funny because they lost to both of those teams.
Totally, yeah.
Well, they didn't lose. They
beat the Rams.
They beat the Rams. Sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah, they beat but it was
they needed the last 44 seconds of the game to do it.
They needed everything to beat the Rams, and nobody else has needed much to beat the Rams lately. And they didn't beat the Packers, right? And obviously, we've seen Green Bay's struggles. Sorry, I forgot that game. But
I feel horrendous.
They usually, in your defense, they usually lose to the Rams.
Yeah, that's true. It's just funny that despite those results and everything, and some pluckiness week to week being shown by teams in their division, but then obviously, like I said, maybe for 1 week they're popping up. You can see Carolina play well, although that might have just been against the Bucs. Actually, now that I think about it, the time that they played well, right? And Atlanta's kind of interesting, but none of those 3 teams are any good. New Orleans, an infirmary unit, right? Like they've been just decimated by injury, which is actually kind of too bad. Not from a Bucs banter perspective, because we would prefer if the other 3 teams were always very injured here. But the Saints just haven't been what we expected, and I don't know. I can't believe they're in a position to host a playoff game, I guess is what I'm saying. I know there's still 7 games left, but holy shit.
And I know we're not trying to talk all about the NFC, but you mentioned the Saints. I am just hornswoggled by the fact that the Saints have not gone to Jameis Winston.
Yeah,
he must be so bad in practice. He has to be that's the only explanation.
He has to be.
Andy Dalton is not good.
But in games, Jameis has been way better than Dalton, not even comparable. And going back to last year, I
can't explain it honestly, because
and Dalton has not been good. And the record is, it's not like he's somehow kept them at 6-5 and he's got like a 2-1 touchdown. Like he's been Andy Dalton, right? Like
he's been peak Dalton.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess they just are going with continuity. I think it's bizarre that Jameis hasn't gotten another shot.
Yeah. But let's just backtrack a little bit, because we didn't go live last week following that game in Munich, and I don't want to talk about it at length because we're moving forward over here. But 21-16 victory over the Seahawks in Munich, and main takeaways for me are the Bucs finally scoring some touchdowns. That felt great to see. 2 in the first half. I did predict that. I thought it was it was finally going to happen. At least it did, against a solid Seahawks team. And it was kind of Rachaad White's coming out party, I would say, as well. He helped them steal that victory, running the rock with the ferocity and athleticism we haven't exactly seen from Lenny. And the O-line did a good job too. They were unsung heroes in that game. So, I mean, I know it got close and it got dicey at the end, but a big Tom Brady pick was what caused it, which if anything was to let him back in the game, I'd rather it be an error on Tom Brady's part. Because that's someone I'm not really worried about in any capacity, right, of anyone on the team. So I was pleased with the result, that's for damn sure. And I was more pleased with the fact that they were finally putting the ball in the end zone a little bit. Doesn't seem like a lot, but 21 points for this 2022 Bucs team is
isn't that unbelievable though? Seriously, it felt like they were absolutely firing on all cylinders offensively relative to what we've seen, and it's 21 points. Now, there was a killer, the Lenny interception, obviously, I think was either in the red zone. The pick might have been in the red zone. It might have been thrown on like the Seattle 30 or something like that. But that's more points off the board. And I think Tampa missed a field goal. My midseason MVP, Suck Up, missed a field goal in the first quarter, right? So they did leave some meat on the bone. And I know we can kind of joke about the fact that 21 points is an offensive explosion for them, but it did look a lot better. I mean, Rachaad White, right? What can you say?
Slicing and dicing, setting up play action, which is what they need to go to. And, it looked a lot better. It looked a lot crisper. I don't know if it was the German beers or, I don't know, some sort of pretzel situation, but it did, for, all jokes aside, it looked better. It really did. Now they still kind of beat their head into a wall on first down relative to other teams, but it didn't seem as bad for themselves compared to other weeks that we've watched them this year. And talking to Rachaad White, for anyone who watches GMFB, Good Morning Football, the illustrious scepter presented by Kyle Brandt each week for the angriest run, the Angry Run Scepter, was back in Tampa. Rachaad White earned that for that long run in the fourth quarter where he emphatically finished the run with a nasty stiff arm to Quandre Diggs. That was awesome. That was dope.
So sick. Yeah, I was going to say slicing and dicing doesn't do justice to that stiff arm, because that stiff arm was nasty.
Yeah, that was sick.
Now, coming away from that game, just some injury updates coming off the bye week. I'm hoping guys like Julio are another week healthier. I'm hoping Akeem Hicks is feeling better. He's played 2 games since returning. Like, those are big injuries that we need to be getting right. Same goes for Godwin getting better. But came out today. Vita Vea is not practicing right now with a foot injury. He was handing out turkeys and stuff today. He looked fine. He looked jovial. So, like, I feel like it's not that big of a concern, but I don't know. It's kind of weird that the week after the bye week, we're hearing about a foot injury. Not ideal. The big fella's been balling out.
I hope they're just giving him as much time as possible.
Yeah, and maybe it's stupid of me to read into the fact that I'm seeing he's out there handing turkeys, like having fun and shit, but I do feel like if he's dealing with like a foot injury or something, then he should be getting treatment 24/7, like instead of being on his feet all day. So maybe I'm reading too much into it, but
dude, I don't understand injuries at all. I don't understand why they have to announce on Thursday if a guy's playing or not. What if someone feels better by Sunday? I just don't get it, how it works in the NFL, to be completely honest. It's like a huge blind spot for me. But anyways, I mean, Vita Vea would be pretty nice to have in the middle of that line against this Browns running game, right? So let's hope those turkeys are giving him the workout that he needs to be ready for Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all know what Vita Vea is, his importance to this defense. And then Russell Gage, still not practicing with a hamstring injury. Been a tough look for Russ his first year here. And he's had a lot of opportunity. I mean, you mentioned the Green Bay game earlier, Scott. He had 12 receptions in that game. Like, that was his one standout game. But there was no one else to throw the damn ball to. So anyway, hoping he get the hamstring taken care of. Don't come back too early and end up back on the shelf like has happened with him and Julio for that matter. Luke Gadecki is resumed practice, so I'm not sure if that's good news. It could be good news for depth, I guess. But like,
I feel like he's lost his spot for sure.
Well, you sure as hell hope so, because they haven't necessarily outright announced that, and I think that's ruffled some feathers amongst Tampa Bay fans, because everyone just wants them to say Nick Leverett's our starter, because he has earned that right, and there's not even a doubt in the world about it. I don't want to keep hammering the same nail, but yeah, Gadecki's got to sit on the pine for the rest of the year, barring injury or whatever. So because the offensive line unit was the unsung heroes of that Seahawks game, and I don't they were fantastic, and they're grading out better than you think too. So anyway,
they were awesome. They played so well. It was great to see.
Yeah, and Donovan. No one was talking about Donovan Smith's elbow, his hyperextension. He hyperextended his elbow first week of the year, I believe, against Dallas. He missed some time. That was a big hit, having thrust Hainsey and Gadecki into those starting roles. So, when the Bucs were stumbling that point of the season, I mean, not having him fully healthy to kind of help protect those guys was an issue. I think he's back healthy, which is going to help a lot. And then, Tristan Wirfs remains his dominant self, and Shaq Mason was phenomenal against the Seahawks. Like, he's known as a mauler in the run game. And I would say that was his best game as a Buccaneer. So just to break it down specifically along the O-line. Speaking of which, no updates regarding Ryan Jensen, the most mysterious injury in the history of not just professional sports, but the world, continues. So we have not been told. He obviously tore his ACL or some shit, but I don't know why they wouldn't just announce that. And then if he comes back, it's miraculous and impressive. Like, why can't we know the exact injury? Like, what's the secret?
I have no idea.
Once again, plead the fifth. I have no fucking idea how this works. Like, just tell us.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Yeah, like you're saying, there's no consistency. There's no consistency in what the rules are. Like, do they not have to disclose an injury? I don't know.
I know.
It's weird.
Or it's like in the NHL in the playoffs,
lower
and they
body.
just say either lower body or upper body. It's like, okay, well, so is it their legs or not? Like, that's pretty much what it comes down to. But I don't know.
And another Buccaneer who has been on the shelf, who has kind of gotten lost in the shuffle, or you certainly haven't heard him talked about, at least not here on the Bucs Banter podcast. But a guy who's done some work in the league, and I don't think more competition could hurt in that backfield, and that's Giovanni Bernard. He can be back, adds a little bit of depth, like I said, a little bit of competition, and an experienced player who's good in pass pro, and he's a great receiver out of the backfield. He has not been effective as a Buccaneer yet, aside from a few spurts. I thought he'd be a little more valuable to the team last year. He was nicked up. He's an older guy. He's been in the league 9 years, I think. He's got.
Do you have a piece up?
Yes.
On him?
Yeah. I threw a little piece up on Gio coming back. So I was just trying to remember some of the numbers. I think he has 55 career touchdowns. half of those through the air, half running. Like he's just a solid vet who I think could help the team and potentially, who knows how much, but they haven't used Keyshawn Vaughn, right? Like aside from the one game, he got some burn last game. So I could see Gio getting some looks there. Anyway, so looking ahead, apparently, guys, I don't know if you heard this. Someone broke into First Energy Stadium the other night, which is in Cleveland, and vandalized the field with a golf cart or motorized vehicle of some sort, which is where the Bucs are scheduled to face off against the Browns this Sunday at 1 p.m. So all I have to say to that is only in Cleveland.
It's a hell of a senior prank, if I've ever heard one.
I guess you could say only in Florida too, right?
Yeah, you could probably say that. That's how'd they get on the field? Like oh my god.
Yeah, I don't know.
He kind of obviously you kind of respect it a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like
he'll figure it out. It's not irreversible, I'm sure.
Yeah. Maybe it was LeBron.
I was golfing one time and it was the 10th hole and the green was just completely cut up by like tire tracks. It's like you have to be such an asshole to go and do that. And it was like you're right beside the road. You could see how you could like easily get on. Anyway, just reminded me of that. Like what are people doing? But
yeah, so a little update on the Browns. They're sitting at 3-7 right now, and they've
sneaky 3-7.
Sneaky 3-7. But the problem is, Bo, they've lost 6 of their last 7 overall, right? So that hurts them. But they've been in games, and they're a lot better than 2 of the teams who have beat the Bucs this year. That's for sure. In Pittsburgh and Carolina, and like for example, Bo, one of their wins was a 32-13 drubbing of the Bengals in Week 8, right? So
even last week against the Bills, it felt like the Bills were going to fumble that. You know what I mean? Like it really felt like once Cleveland gets up like 10 points on you or whatever it is, like a full touchdown or something, it seems like their defense is just like it's built to pass rush, like and do that like very effectively.
I mean, like, any team with Garrett, you would think is
yeah, exactly. And then it's like it's built to pass rush and it's built to just milk the clock with that running game with Nick Chubb. And I know Nick Chubb didn't have like an incredible game, but it was weird. He'd have like these huge negative plays and then just like some kind of big runs, and then just wouldn't show up in the stat sheet that he was having a good game, but he was a threat the whole game. So
dude's always a threat. He was a threat with a freshly torn ACL. Like he's just such a steady workhorse in this league, man. Nick Chubb appreciation. I don't know how you don't like that guy. He's one of my favorite pro athletes, I think. Just like the way he goes about his business quietly, like no flash. Just every week, just grind the shit out of opponents.
Even the way he just sets up before plays, where he's just like kind of standing there and like he almost has like this tell, like if his hands are on his pants, like he's not getting the ball, but if he's just standing there normally, you know he's getting the ball. And it's just like it just feels the way that he just goes about his business is the perfect way of putting it. He just is a workhorse and just like throw him the ball, like hand him the ball, and he's just gonna get you 5 to 6 yards.
I actually like the spot, though, playing the Browns this week because, they've been competitive, but they were also disgusting 2 weeks ago against Miami. And even they needed a late fury this past. I know the Bills are exceptional, and so maybe the Dolphins are as well. But they needed a late flurry to make that a one-score game, right? And I don't know. They seem like a potential dead man walking team, pre-Deshaun coming back. Like, I actually think it's a pretty good spot. I'm not even necessarily talking about the X's and O's matchup. I just like the spot of coming off a bye versus this team who's shown flashes, but they've also shown like flashes of competence, but they've also shown flashes of like we quit as well. So I think this is low-hanging fruit. But if Tampa can get off to a good start and go up 10-0 in the first quarter, for example, I just think that goes a long way. It limits how many times Chubb can really tote it, right? And that's what you're going to need to do, in my opinion, in this game.
Shout out to Giovan Zuzio on watching us on YouTube. Yes, I think the Buccaneers can win the Super Bowl again.
There he is.
The title of the episode, can the Bucs become contenders again? We weren't even going that far. We were just saying contenders. But
let me just see where your phone is, Collin. Is that like an alias or something? What's going on?
Exactly.
I would use that as my real name, and like it's just way cooler name.
I was thinking could have been Gio Bernard's.
Oh,
Maybe there's some sort of Giovanni relation there. I don't think that's really how it works, but who knows?
Yeah. So anyway, in terms thankfully for Browns fans, though, I mean the Jacoby Brissett era will soon be coming to a close, and thankfully for Bucs fans, that won't happen until week 13 after this week, where Deshaun Watson will be eligible to return. And I think the Browns are going to look like a completely different team at that point.
Quick sidebar. Jacoby Brissett seems like an awesome dude. A great interview, answers every question. People love him. Seems like just a smart, great teammate. And I think he's a pretty good quarterback, honestly. Like, he's not terrible.
He's definitely not terrible. There's a lot of drop balls on that team, on that in that Cleveland second.
Yeah.
Wide receiver.
And I think he's going to end up playing in the league. I don't know how many games he starts, but for 12 years or something like that, just because he's smart and able to go into a game when needed. Just a quick thing. I really like Jacoby Brissett.
I think it's fair, man. I think he's a really good backup, and that isn't meant to be a negative or a slight in any way. Like, think of how valuable, how good you feel when you have a good backup who could come in and manage the game, right? Because, Bo, yeah, you were just mentioned it. Like, they don't have enough firepower on the outside. It's either if Amari Cooper gets going, Peoples-Jones has had a couple nice games recently, and Njoku at times, but they need more firepower at the receiver position to balance that run game and really take that. That's what's so, sorry to keep coming back to Nick Chubb, but that's what's so impressive about their run game is literally the boxes are as stacked as they are against anyone in the league. And they just continue to produce in that element of the game. So, but yes, anyway, Deshaun Watson, though, we've talked plenty about, what he did and why he's been suspended and how shitty of a guy he is. But as a football player, he is a miraculous talent as far as he's unbelievable. And
that wide receiver room might have enough firepower for Deshaun Watson, as I would put it.
Are you kidding me, man? Look what he was working with in Houston. He was winning playoff games with the most pathetic cast.
Even in the post DeAndre Hopkins era, he was a threat every Sunday. He is like the real deal. I watched that game for a little while. Just trying to do my little Bucs recon work, but Deshaun Watson returned to practice, and he was basically doing the Josh Allen impression, just being the mock quarterback for them, and they were just this is why this is why we got off to a good start. It was identical, basically.
Yeah. They were he did a really good job.
He's good at this.
Yeah.
But despite the fact that the Jacoby Brissett, they technically have the third highest PFF grade for their overall offense, and I think again comes back to the Chubster because they have a 90.4 run grade by PFF. So
is that including last week? Because they were horrendous on the ground.
Yes, this is up to date. I just checked.
Because they had 80 yards on the run on the ground last week. Yeah, they are. There was a dumpster fire from the running game last week, and Jacoby Brissett stepped up, and they got out to a big lead on Buffalo.
But then
I like it.
Sorry, and that's against the Bills, whose run defense isn't good. But then with the Bills being able to flip the script and just turn it into a 2-score game despite being down, I think 10, right? Yeah. Then that changes everything that the Browns want to do. So kind of a chicken and the egg, I think, in that scenario, because Bills run defense, not good. But if they get a few stops, then they know that their offense is going to be able to score and actually give them a lead, right? So that was a weird game. That was a weird game.
Really weird game. But that's what I'm talking about is are the Bucs prepared to do that in a game? Or would we feel comfortable about the Bucs coming back from a 2 scores down against the Browns? You know what I mean?
Oh my God, no.
That's the type of stuff where it's just maybe you do you have explosive? That's how you lose these types of games. How you lose to a Pittsburgh or to a
let's face
that's Carolina.
And taking it back to the Germany game, Tampa dominated the game. They were by far the better team.
Punched first too.
They won the game by 5. That's it. That's why laying big numbers more than a touchdown. Not that that's the line in this Tampa Cleveland game, but it's just so hard to do. every coach wants to win by exactly 1 point, right? And like that was a thorough domination in that game, and it was 21-16, right? So like one more play goes their way for Seattle, for example, let's say, and they could have won the game. So I think it's so huge for Tampa to get off to a good start in this game against Cleveland for multiple reasons, for tangible in-game reasons, and also like, can we see it? Be aggressive so that you can run the ball later if you have to, right? Like get out to a lead, make it easier for yourself. That's what I'm really hoping to see this week. I'm actually pumped to watch.
I always thought it was dumb when during the Bucs Super Bowl run, about pretty much their whole run after the week 9 bye or whatever it was. They lost that game to Chicago where Brady didn't know what down it was. Then they had a bye, and then they came out firing. And what Bruce Arians, his no risk it, no biscuit approach, I noticed he started not deferring, accepting the ball to start the game whenever they would win the coin toss. And obviously, if the other team won the coin toss, they would defer. So the Bucs were starting. They wanted to start with the ball every single game.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, that's fucking dumb. Like, I'd rather start in the second half. But anyway, they won every damn game. And that's why I knew in the Super Bowl they were going to receive the ball to start, actually. And it was like even money, which was the lock of the century. But my point is, like, that whole, like, I kind of now miss that mentality being there. Like, let's take the fucking ball and go score. And that's kind of what they've been missing. So that's just my way of like echoing what you're saying, Scott. I totally agree with the mindset thing, and they got to come out and be aggressive right away. And that is what it is. You can only say it so many times. Now,
and I agree. I agree. I would generally prefer to have the ball to start the second half. But if I'm trying to kind of send a message, like we're going to go out there and we're going to go on an 8-play, 5-minute drive to start this game. We're going to start the game basically up 7-0, right? We're 4 or 5 minutes into the game and we're up 7-0. Let's fucking do that then. Like, let's try that. Yeah. But I get it. I hear you.
And just one more thing about the Munich game that I didn't mention is that I think we need to mention because of how much he is maligned in the local media and by us at times as well for how he plays based on how talented he is. And Devin White was unreal in that game. Yeah. He won Player of the Week. His father had just died unexpectedly, and he's incarcerated in Louisiana. So I don't know how long he's been in the bin for at that point. But anyway, he was like having chest pains, and then they were transferring him to a medical facility. He was having back pain, really bad back pain. And then he died, and they couldn't revive him. And this is Devin White found out on the team bus to the airport to leave to Munich. So like, holy shit, like losing a parent is one thing, to be completely blindsided by it out of nowhere and find out in that scenario. Like I can't imagine how hard that was and how all the shit that was going on in his mind. But not only did he make the damn trip, he went and he balled out for his dad. And I just think he deserves a major tip of the cap for that.
100%. Good. Unbelievable. That's
not to toot your horn again too. I've seen the tweet, so it's another really good piece you got going on at Bucs game day as well.
Thank you, Bo. Thank you, man. Yeah, that one. You guys know me and Devin White. Like I've been, I will call him out as I have written about when he's struggling, but I also still believe in his talent, and I just think, in addition to the heavy heart he was playing with, I think like he's been taking a lot of shit too, deservedly so. So I'm just happy
and handling it really well as well.
Yeah,
honestly, totally. Like he could have folded. Like after that Ravens game, he could have folded pretty easily.
Yeah, he hasn't done any Zach Wilson shit. Like
no, definitely not.
Yeah, did you have any role in that loss? No. Get live. No, he went out and played like a beast. And when he plays like that, he's such a force. He's like me on the golf course, Scott. He is like the best of the best. Not saying that to me, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah, or the worst. Like there's no in between. There's no in between.
Yeah, okay. You guys are built similarly, and yes, I get that. I think that's where the No, you
got to see me golf. You got to see me golf, folks.
I see what you're saying for sure, but seriously though, good for him. It's so funny. Like just picturing Collin if he ever actually gets to meet Devin White. Like how if you listen to a podcast for a long time, you feel like you know the co-hosts or whatever, and I feel like if you get to meet them and be like, trying to get in on inside jokes. I think Collin would just go up, shake his hand, and be like, "Listen, man, we got to talk. Like we gotta hash some
We've
of
been
this
through a
shit
lot."
out. We got a lot to go over, right? So, and I would like to be there for that.
Yeah. Well, let's discuss now the title of the episode. Okay. Do the Bucs have what it takes to be contenders again? Can they become contenders again? And if they do, and I believe they can, I absolutely do. What needs to happen for them to be contenders again? Do either of you have a specific one in mind? We can shoot around the horn and discuss each other's, but does anyone want to lead with? Well, no, one of you lead. Bo, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I do think, I think what comes down, like the thing that stuck out to me from the Munich game, was obviously the offensive line's performance, and I think the running game has a big part in that. I think Brandon Staley said this last year in some presser, just getting a question asked about the run game and it opening up the pass. He basically shot it down, which has been shot down with like football, like data analytics for seasons, years now, that you don't really need to run the ball to pass the ball. You don't have any more success in your play action game because you're running the ball more often and things of that sort. But there is something to be said about the physicality of football and the play-to-play nature of a defense, knowing that they're not going to get hit, or like 5 out or like 7 out of the 11 guys are not going to get hit on a pass play, or just are not going to have that physicality introduced to them. I think when you see that offensive line coming off the ball, whether it's a pass play into pass protection or it's into the run game and going out and hitting guys, I think that's huge. And that's the thing that just kind of sticks out to me from that game. There's a level of confidence that comes along with running the ball effectively and being able to get those yards and burst plays on the ground. I think I saw way more from Rachaad White, and I felt way better about the running game with him handling the rock. Not that Lenny had a horrible game in Germany at all, but it was a different vibe when you saw Rachaad White with the ball. That's for sure.
Just more dynamic. Right?
So much more dynamic, and it just felt like a threat. Honestly, I feel like Lenny, when he does get a longer run, it's like despite the way that he started the run.
Yeah.
Whereas as soon as Rachaad White touches the ball, you're just like, oh shit, this might be 20, this might be 40, this might be 15, this might be 6. It feels like it could be a positive play every time he touches it, which is huge. But yeah, I think what it does for the physicality of the game and just kind of setting the tone is just can't be understated. So I think there's a commitment to the run game that's going to need to happen and is going to happen if we know Byron Leftwich by now. Regardless, that's going to happen. But I think being able to do it effectively is going to be like yes or no on the contender title for the Bucs, honestly.
Yeah, two things about that I want to just say on that. The crazy thing about like Rachaad White breaking out is like we haven't even seen him as a pass catcher yet. Like,
yeah, in the best role for him,
because
he's an every down back.
The best version.
I think he is an every down back. There's no doubt in my mind now.
That's his elite skill is as a pass catching running back. That is his trump card compared to other prospects. We've heard Thor Nystrom on this very show, one of the best evaluators of college prospects. Dude lives, breathes, and sleeps college football prospects, and he knows his shit, and he's not afraid to go out on a limb. And he said he's the best pass catcher in the draft, undoubtedly, for a running back, and better than a bunch of receivers. So high praise there.
Wild.
The other thing is, I think because fans have been so like, not just fans, media, everyone who covers the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have just been so annoyed with the narrative of, oh, you got to run the ball, that old school thing, that we've almost beat it down to a pulp where it's like, okay, running the ball is still matters. Like, there's
oh my god,
lots of like, there's a reason, teams still need to run the football. And I think your point emphasizes that or brings that back up because it is important. And you see what happens. You see how the offense works. Like the Seattle game is the perfect example.
He was basically like to blow out the Brandon Staley quote was basically like, you have to force these guys that are in the secondary on the second level of defense, the linebackers, like they have to play blocks and they have to tackle somebody. Mm-hmm. Every time you run the ball, they have to do that. So when you pass a ball, whether it's completed or not, they don't necessarily have to do that, or a majority of the guys don't necessarily have to do that. So there's something to that. And like the thing that sticks out in my head, which is like, I don't want to drag on Devin White anymore, but like that Ravens game when Tyler Linderbaum gets to the second level and just drives him for 15 yards, like that is like a very uncomfortable place for a linebacker to get to. And it's just like, they're thinking about that for the rest of the game. So if you go out there and you just nail a guy, even if it's a 2-yard run, and you're able to set the tone physically with the run game, I think you don't get the chance to do that when you're passing the ball as much as you do when you're running the ball. So it just puts defenders, especially guys that are pass defense specialists or guys who are just kind of picking their way with like pass rushing and things of that sort, it puts them on their heels a little bit. And that's the big thing about running the ball to me. Go ahead.
But Bo, you're thinking like a big part then of the success is just like instilling their will on a game, right?
Totally.
Like I agree. They just suck at running the ball. That's my thing. That's but my like, it's like
I don't think it matters if you suck at running the ball, but you're like, I think it's more like, I want my offensive lineman to go out there and hit people hard. I want Chris Godwin to go in and hit someone hard. I want the Lenny play where he's able to just go and nail Micah Parsons. Like it's the physicality that's the thing, and I think you get more opportunities to do that from the running game.
That's fair. But what else do you need to see from the start of the season? They might just not be able to do it.
He needs to see more shot. He needs to see more.
But I need to see like that. But I don't. I think that's the like. I think one is more Rashad White. But I think that's the thing. Like if we're talking about if you're going to be a contender, I think you need to be able to control the game and the tone of the game and be the person that's hitting them first. Like I think that's the thing that the Bucs are going to need to do and like get out to leads. Like I think that all comes back from like the running game of having like a legitimate running game that people are scared of, or at least are threatened by. Like I like the idea of like, I think I brought this up in the podcast before. Like when they ran that Wildcat play, I was like, I was on my feet in my living room, just like so excited about that. But
the first one.
Obviously, I don't want to see a Wildcat play where Lenny's throwing the ball ever.
Throwing it to Tommy B.
Exactly. So, but there's something to be said. Like as soon as you see Leonard Fournette under center, you know you're going to get hit if you're the defense. Somebody is going to hit you 100% of the time.
But they're expecting that. Like this is the NFL.
I really don't think that they do. Like I think when you are able, like the base defense in the NFL now is a nickel defense because they're expecting the pass. I honestly think that's what it is.
Not against Tampa. Not against Tampa. They're expecting it.
Yeah. I guess that's true too.
I do get where you're coming from. I'm just more concerned from a process results standpoint of they can't do it well enough for it to actually matter.
But when they do it well, they win.
Well, okay.
Right? Like when they do it like that team in Germany, that team that showed up to the first half in Germany beats, I would say, 90% of the league. Like they go into halftime with the lead over basically every team in the league. I can only see like Kansas City being able to keep up with that. Like just from a time of possession standpoint, and just like it just felt like they were like the stronger, more dominant team in that first half. Like
that's
without
true.
a shadow of a doubt. So like if you can instill that into the way you start every single game, you're putting yourself into that contender realm. Like if everybody knows that every time you go out to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, those first 2 quarters are just fucking hell because they're just running the ball over you. They don't care what defense you're in. They're going out and hitting you. Like it's just annoying. And I think not only do they have a commitment to the run game already, but they have the personnel to do this. Like their wide receivers, like the Chris Godwins, the Mike Evans of the world, they want to go out and hit guys. Like their tight ends want to go out and hit guys. Like I just think that that's the way to get this team going, honestly.
All right, let me spice this up. I'm going to go next.
Go for it.
Mine is air it out on offense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
fuck.
like with that said, though, I can get behind. I like old school Bo. Like I like this. Like he wants the physicality imposed. I think a lot of it comes down to the offensive line as well. But
I don't think you're going to be able to air it out without having the threat of like, okay, we're running the ball and we're hitting you as like every single time.
Fair. This is like we can each have our own here anyway, and it's not like I don't want them to have both, and I don't think both help each other, obviously. But yeah, so like contrary to Bo's point, I guess, although I think having an effective run game is wonderful and they go hand in hand, I still think the offense needs to put the ball in Tom Brady's hands and let him utilize the weapons he has on the outside to score points for this team. Like, end of story. Like, I want them to throw it a lot. I want them to embrace what I think is their strength still. I mean, that's yeah.
Here's my thing. Even if they were running the ball well, I would still say they need to throw the ball more to be a contender, to be a Super Bowl contender, to win a couple different types of playoff games. You know what I mean? My thing is they don't run it well. And I know it's been a lot of Fournette and not White. So I lean towards Collin's side just from like hey, we know what we have from a receiver standpoint, and Tom Brady's a fucking quarterback. So let's go from there. I like the instilling the physicality into the game. I totally get that, but they're just not good at it. I don't know what to say. Like, they're just not any good at it.
But I think they can be, and I think that's the thing that's missing. Honestly, like I'll stand on this is a hill to die on for me. Like I really feel like they can throw the ball. Like we've seen them do it like 50, 60 times a game, and
when they're down, because
exactly.
they've been running the ball too much early.
Yeah,
there's context matters, man. Like I see that Brady is, I think, second or third in the league in passing yards, and that just blows my mind from watching the actual games, right? Because there's no way you could determine, like you would never think that, but it's because they've been down in so many games. And I know also this is like, you know, as a preamble or whatever. This is if they're a contender. We're coming at this topic from if they are a contender, totally. Not can they improve a little bit or be better. I'm saying, can they actually beat these like theoretically four good teams in a row to make the Super Bowl or to win a Super Bowl? That's where I'm coming from, right?
No,
do I think they can do what they're doing and get to 10-7 and win the division? Yeah, they probably can, based on that Seattle game almost alone with how good the offensive line played and how good Rachaad White looked, right? But they're gonna have to win different games. You're gonna have to come from behind. You're gonna have to win on the road. Like you got to be able to mix it up. You got to be able to do it in different ways. So that's what I'm thinking.
I'm coming from the standpoint of we went through this to this point of the season. Basically, every Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan is saying, "Let's abandon the run." I'm not saying that you need to run the ball more, but I think that you need to run the ball consistently and effectively to be a contender. Like I don't think that they need to like not air out the ball. Like of course they need big explosive plays, but I don't think they become a contender if the running game is a once in every 9 weeks we're good at running the ball. Like
I agree.
They need to be better at running the ball in order to win games. And
and
the threat needs to exist.
Ultimately.
Yeah. And maybe
like they
maybe the change to White, you know, checks that box. Honestly, maybe it's as simple as that. Hey, I'm not a big run the ball guy, but I'm a Michigan fan. I don't mind it because they get 7 yards on every play. You know what I mean? If you can do it, do it. The point why I'm like, it's more exciting to watch people throw the ball, but it's more efficient, generally speaking. If you're blowing guys up off the line of scrimmage and just pounding it for 6 yards every time, that's totally fine.
You're winning basically every football game if you're doing
exactly. And then that's a different level of efficiency. But you have to be able to do that, right? So yeah, I hear you. I hear where you're coming from.
No, and I think that's what for me, like running the ball, the running game, establishing that it can't be the turn around, give it to Lenny and let him like
the
pitter patter in the backfield and not get any yards. It needs to be weird shit like we're running a wildcat. We're giving it to Rachaad White to cut back. We're giving it to Julio Jones on a fucking jet sweep. Like it needs to be sophisticated and it needs to be effective.
100% agree. And I love that with White as well. Because if you have him in the game, if they're in the gun, then, maybe he's coming out of the backfield in the flat to catch a pass. Maybe you can just give him a quick pitch and let him get out on the edge because he's faster than Letty, right? Like
Exactly.
that, as much as my like consternation about like all the runs on first down, I think it's less the fact that it's running on first down and more that it's the same fucking thing every single time.
The fact that it's a negative play, yeah.
Yeah, or
the point that is not for a gain. Like you're not gaining more than 2 yards, 3 yards max. Like it's just not enough. So whatever it is that's getting you these putting you in second and third and longs, you need to change. Ultimately, I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
But my thing is like, do you think that they can air out the ball and like their running game be worse or stay the same?
No, Bo, you're right.
The averages right now.
No, I think it took us a while to get to the conclusion, but I think you laid it out much more efficiently there, which is what you want. You want a more efficient run game, so that because then they'll all work together. And I don't disagree with that at all. Scott, what about you, man? What do you think? What needs to happen for the Bucs to become contenders this season?
2 things for me. So health, they need to get fully healthy because we've talked about how many guys they have and how deep they are, and theoretically, like the Pro Bowlers and all pros, people who have been in that situation on the roster, but they all have to be playing at the same time and they all have to be playing well. So get everyone tuned up kind of now, right? Like post bye. I know there's still 7 regular season games left. There's a lot of time, but let's get everyone clicking. Second thing, host the first playoff game. You have obviously, I mean, they're probably not going to be a wild card. So basically, if they make the playoffs, it's going to be if they win the division, right? So I guess that goes hand in hand, but still, that's what we need because they got to win that first game. I think they're more suited to do it at home. And third, we need. I mean, this all stems to this is an offshoot of what we were just talking about. We need Leftwich to be better, or we need the brain trust in general to be better. More creative. They just need to
be more interesting. Yeah.
More interesting, more creative, more decisive. I think Brady's been pretty good, right? Like he's been pretty fucking good. All
Brady's been awesome.
Yeah. For sure.
All things considered, like that was his worst game maybe in Germany. But besides that, there's been a lot of drop balls. There's been a lot of balls hitting guys in the fucking chest, right? So
yeah.
He's about to lock in. I'll tell you right now. Brady's about to lock in. He's gonna.
I think so too.
That was a long flight home from Germany for Brady.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
But those are my main things, man. Health, winning this division, and seeing something from Leftwich.
We saw something from him in Seattle, and I know there were lots of ugly spots, but he was calling a better game than what
he did.
Let's be real, like quite a bit better. Like I was like,
he really did.
That first half, I was into it. I was like, oh shit, is he doing it now? Is he finally changing his ways?
That wildcat pass he was drunk. There was 100% chance that he was drunk for that.
It's like he planned that like the week before. It was like, oh, we'll run it once, and then 3 plays later,
they ran it the previous time. No one went out and went with Brady, so I got to assume they told Lenny. Yeah,
I don't care if you can see it or not.
Over there.
Throw it.
You know who else noticed no one was over there with Brady? The fucking Seahawks.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're like, oh yeah, okay, well, we'll do it next time. Like,
yeah, seriously.
The only other thing that I want to say is actually really big for this, I think, for the Bucs to be contenders again, is they need to shore up the run defense. And I don't think it's a matter of personnel. Like, they don't need new bodies. They got everyone they need. It's been an identity of this team throughout the Todd Bowles era. And if they're going to find themselves and get back to being the contenders that they have been the last 2 years, that they should be on paper, it's going to have to involve them improving their run defense. They have all the weapons to do it. And, it's everyone getting on the same page. Todd Bowles calling a better game, whatever the hell it is, playing as a group, executing the scheme, executing the play calls on a play-to-play basis. They need to stop the run.
And look at who they can play in the playoffs. Eagles, you got the Jalen Hurts factor. He's very hard to stop. The Niners, pick which running threat, right? You know what I mean? The Dallas running attack is good with the Zeke Pollard 1-2 combo, right? So I think you hit the nail on the head, man. If the matchup specific in the playoffs, especially against those teams, they're just going to have to do it. They're going to have to. I think they can, though. To be fair, I have all the confidence in the world in the defense. Like, as
Yeah.
as pessimistic as I am in the offense changing, I always expect the defense to play well or at least figure it out. So
feels like way more of an outlier the way that this defense has performed, like a week-to-week basis, really. So
my fear as the Bucs fan in me, the fear as a Bucs fan is like all of a sudden after this bye, the Bucs are going to be like the best team defending the run, and then they're just going to be giving up tons of yards in coverage, and like because they've been phenomenal in that regard. I think, like they've exceeded what I expected going in this year, and they've dealt with injuries on the back end. Shout out, good friend of the show, Josh Capo. Don't give Lefty a pass. Hey, Scott did a great job breezing over the Leftwich thing, Josh, because the last few episodes that we've done here without your presence, which we're due for another visit from old JQ, we've just been hammering on Leftwich way too much.
Yeah.
So we're trying to just give the audience a little break here.
Yeah.
Focus on some other things. Yeah.
That's why I just said we just need him to be better. I thought we could just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks, Josh. I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, we need Capo back in the building. We've only referenced this bastard at each of the last few episodes. So we've been giving you free promos when you haven't been around, Josh. And over at Pewter Report, Josh and Matt Matera drafted their all-time Buccaneers. Everyone should check out that episode. It was pretty cool going back and forth, creating their rosters, and go vote who's better over at Pewter Report. But not until you first checked out BucsGameDay.com, the only Sports Illustrated website dedicated specifically to covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh, wow. What a pro.
Yes.
Seriously.
Anyway, I'm pumped up. That bye week, man, first off, the 1 p.m. games were shit. Like, I was so bored, and I was just like, oh, man, I'm excited for some Buccaneers football. Versus the Browns. Hopefully that field is repaired in time. Yeah. God, boys.
I got a pretty full green light last Sunday to watch football from 1 until 4, and I bet on the Texans and the Patriots. So I had the Commanders Texans game on one TV and the New England Jets game on the other, and I was like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I'm honestly at halftime, I'm starting to reassess things. I'm like, all right, maybe I should go to law school. I don't know what the hell's going on here. Like, it was unbelievable, honestly, dude. And then I was like, these are the teams I picked. I didn't have a gun to my head. I actually chose them with my own free will. Like, these are the games I'm watching. It was tough. It was a tough scene. I'm gonna be honest.
That Jets Pats game, I don't know.
Oh,
you must have been the only person that left that game and went back to that game.
I was sick. I almost puked. And then, of course, I had New England minus 3.5, and they returned the touchdown to cover, which was the miracle cover of all covers. Obviously, it looked like it was going to go to overtime. There's no way either of those teams were scoring a touchdown. Like, there's no chance.
I was looking at the tie. Like, what can I get a line on what the tie is going to be?
Oh yeah, probably if it went to overtime, I think the tie option comes up on the.
Wait, it would have been.
Wait, not interception, punt return, right? Wasn't it
a punt return?
Did I say interception?
I think so. I don't know.
Oh, sorry, punt return.
Which is even crazier. That was wild. I caught that because they went to it from whatever game I was watching before.
Yeah.
Well, the poor Jets punter had punted so many times, and the Patriots almost got to him. So we let go a bit of a line drive, which obviously that gives him the opportunity to return it, but it was a bomb still. And then, of course, that guy, first punt return of the season in the NFL, right? In that game, it was poetic. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, he's a rookie. Big moment for him.
Yeah, that was huge. I was going nuts.
And based on the numbers, Jalen Darden's actually been speaking of unproven return men, young guys in the league. He's been trending upward, actually.
A little bit more of a threat back there. Yeah,
that's sure. He still looks like he's a junior at a junior high dance, dressed up as a football player, like on an NFL field. But he's a little slippery. I just
it is not, dude. If you get the chance to return a kick and you can get it out to the 35 and basically like steal a first down, for example, like that's a huge advantage, right? Like that really helps. So
better way to look at it. And if anything, it speaks to the lack of impact that most teams are getting from their return game. I mean, this again, shout out to Cordell Patterson, by the way.
I know.
First shout out, but that was cool to see him run one back.
He's awesome.
Yeah, he is.
I love that guy.
Okay, on that note, folks, I think we've hit on everything we promised we would. We believe the Bucs can be contenders again, and we told you what they need to do for that to happen.
What about score predictions for this week?
Ooh, okay, yeah, I can blow the lead. We're putting out
Little
our
scoregami or what?
We're putting out our game day predictions tomorrow, so I actually have to submit one right after this. I think the Bucs are going to win. I'm going to say 24-14.
Okay, I had 24-17.
I was literally going to say 24-17. What?
I think that feels
I'm going to
right.
say. I'm going to say 17-10.
Okay, so the offensive explosion continues.
We're running the ball, baby. Nick Shad White all day.
Oh my god.
All right. Well, anyone who is a loyal listener or joining us for the first time, please make sure you subscribe to the Bucs Banter YouTube channel. And like I said, make sure you're checking out Bucs Game Day for all of our written work. And we will be touching back in with y'all next week, hopefully after a Buccaneers win. Bucs are traveling to Cleveland, 1 p.m. on Sunday. Thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your week. Go Bucs.